From a working-class Catholic background, Andrew Robb has risen from backroom power broker to the front line of Conservative politics. Last year he was responsible for the sensitive, often contentious issues of citizenship and multicultural affairs.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be here today, and I'm honoured to be representing the Prime Minister John Howard.
He led the charge against radical Islam, and he called on Australian Muslims to better integrate. It's all part of a bigger pitch, a new debate around Australian values. Even the word multiculturalism is being reworked.
It's a very complex issue. It's not black and white, and it's very unfair to target only Muslims.
I think anti-Islamic feeling could really well be used in the federal election.
So how is Andrew Robb drawing on his own past to deal with these vexed issues facing Australia today? How much has religion contributed to his political ambition? Andrew Robb is married with 3 grown-up children. He was a successful business consultant when he was elected to the safe Liberal seat of Goldstein in Melbourne in 2004.
Without a doubt, he's going to be on the front bench of the coalition within the decade, and will probably take a very senior role.
Good luck for the next few weeks.
Thank you, yes. Well, he's already been a powerful player in some of the biggest government decisions of our time. As a business consultant, he represented Kerry Packer in the switch to digital television. He's lobbied for the mining industry against the Kyoto Protocol on the environment. He played a key role in the government's controversial industrial relations reforms. And last year, he was put in charge of the Muslim Reference Group to address Muslim integration. So, Andrew Robb, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Geraldine.
What motivated you to leave business life, very prosperous one, and get into politics?
Well, when I left politics in the 90s to go into business, my intent was to get some business experience and to get a bit established financially, and then to come and run for a seat if I got the opportunity. So it had been my ambition at least for 10 years. I'm enjoying it, it's liberating, but it's a whole new skill set I need, I think, and to publicly present a persuasive argument and convince people and colleagues and the public. I'm enjoying the challenge, but I think I'm still got the training wheels on.
The eldest of 9 children, Andrew Robb started life on a dairy farm on the outskirts of Melbourne. When times got tough, in his early teens, the family moved to the Italian immigrant community of Reservoir, where his father worked night shifts in a plastics factory. The family was nurtured in the conservative culture of the Roman Catholic Church of the 1950s.
Catholicism was a very big part of our childhood. Weekly Mass, and I was an altar boy, and we went to Catholic primary schools and Catholic secondary schools, the Rosary and all of that. It's a very strong part of our family life.
Catholicism once went hand in hand with Labor politics. But after the bitter Labor Party split of 1955, many families, like the Robbs, joined the predominantly Catholic Democratic Labor Party, the DLP, never returning to their roots. It was one of the most significant realignments in Australian political history. So you were working class, Catholic, and rural. Do you think you're typical of a lot of people who've now joined the Liberal Party, who would once have been solid Labor?
I think so. My parents were very strong on the importance of making the most of your talents, of taking opportunity, of education. They really instilled in us that if we wanted to make the most of our God-given talents, that education was the the key for us that would unlock those opportunities. So they did talk a lot about opportunities and ambition and making the most of what you'd been given. But they also talked a lot about respect and the importance of respecting one another and respecting differences. The importance of, I suppose, as the Bible says, treating others as you'd like to be treated. Those two elements, which I suppose goes to that social conservatism in a way.
Would you say that your religion permeates your working life now or not?
I think the values that part of my religion are very much part of me. Religion is still a part of my life, but less doctrinaire, I'd say, much less doctrinaire.
And what do you mean by that?
I think my faith is very much a faith in one true God. It's a vehicle for me to achieve a spiritual dimension in my life, which I think is very important. But a lot of the man-made rules of the Catholic Church and many other religions are things that I can take or leave. They're not central to my spiritual life or my belief in God.
Is there any one rule that particularly annoys you?
Celibacy. Celibacy is always something which I saw to be a man-made rule in the Catholic Church, celibacy. And I do think it's been, in many ways, an unsatisfactory sort of force within Catholicism.
Do you go to Mass regularly? Do you pray regularly? Do you reflect?
I go to Mass several times, quite often, through the year, several times a year.
Does it prick your conscience at any point and make you think you're not on the right path?
Oh, that's the beauty of it, yes. I do think it gives you an opportunity to have a conversation with a higher being, with God, and helps you reflect on whether you are conducting your life in the way in which you think you should be. And
are you going to tell us if the conversation comes back that you're not?
Well, look, who was it? There was one of the Gospels talked about taking the narrow gate, and the narrow road to a good life is the way to go, but the wide gate is the way to perdition. Well, I have opened a wide gate a few times, I'm afraid, Geraldine.
In the 1980s, Andrew Robb launched himself headlong into political and social change via two landmark industrial disputes. As an agricultural lobbyist, he took on the sheep shearers of Australia in the famous Wide Comb dispute. And he battled the Meat Workers Union in the long-running Mudgeonbury Abattoir dispute. The on-again, off-again peace talks aimed at settling the Mudgeonbury Meatworks dispute may take place after all. At the time the director of the National Farmers Federation, he decided to bankroll the operator of Mudgeonbury Abattoir and sue the Meat Workers Union for its losses. The union was ordered to pay over $1 million in compensation. It was the first time an Australian union was held liable for industrial action.
It became part of a big shift that changed the balance of power against the union movement in Australia in the 80s. And the consequences and the effects of that are still being worked through now, and you see consequences of it in the new work choices legislation.
It was hugely significant in the sense that what we're seeing now, in terms of the right of an employer who takes all the risk to sit down with his workforce, who provide all their labour and work out something that's in both their interests, to keep the business going and profitable and to keep the workforce in well-paid jobs. It established that right, and it is now commonplace, but it didn't exist. Unions dominated previously.
Now, of course, it's interesting because Catholic social justice teaching argues for a consciously struck balance between the forces of capital and the forces of labour. So in some ways, I see a break between your current attitudes and your Catholic inheritance.
No, but my Catholic inheritance